Welcome back to the channel, folks. Wildlife Ranger here on YouTube, where today, as part of the 50 Flowers in 50 Days series, we look at another plant, one of three, in a category of habitat known as Aquatic Marginal, or put simply marsh, bog or pond, or put even more simply, somewhere where you will get your boots wet. As part of the series, we have already documented the plants of marsh marigold and yellow flag iris. Today, being the 6th of May 2025, we set out to identify and find another star in the British flora known as Bog Bean or Menyanthes trifoliata. For all of you who can endure the structured overview to the botany, towards the end of the video we identify two interesting characteristics of this plant. The first in the form of a question as to why the petals have delicate and ornate extensions of the petal surface by way of fringes. For the observant amongst us who may have noticed that the plant exists in two distinct forms, those with a long style and those with a short style, or pin and thumb forms, we will recap on what we learned in our primrose video on a principle known as floral dimorphism. So folks, we've got a lot of ground to cover. Let's get cracking, commencing with the habitat overview and the naming of the plant. Welcome to my channel, folks, Wildlife Ranger on YouTube for all things natural history. Today we are in a heathland nature reserve known as Roanoke or Low Moor Railway, and we are here particularly to look at the plant in the background just beyond the water, which is called Bog Bean or Menyanthes. We will be coming back sort of mid-April towards May to look at the flowering part of the plant. We will also be returning to the heathland because it's particularly rich in 16 to 17 butterfly species. So as you can see, it's a very small pond, but nevertheless half of that pond is given towards Bog Bean, just towards the back of it behind me. Welcome back to my channel, folks, Wildlife Ranger on YouTube. Today, the 8th of May, we have returned to Railway Terrace, where we're going to look at the pond habitat and the plant which we can see flourishing behind us, which is known as Bog Bean. And as you can see from our visit in early April, things have quickly transformed into the stands of flourishing flowers that we can see, and we can see the star-shaped white flower of Bog Bean and the trifoliate vivid green leaf and stem of the plant. Today, approximately 1 month after visiting in April to image the marsh marigold, we return to the pond at Railway Terrace. What we can see before us, and we talked about it on the marsh marigold video, is a pond completely filled with a plant known as Bog Bean. We'll take a closer look at that in a moment, but as you can see, the Bog Bean is completely flowering at the moment in the white stands, and we're going to look at that flower, which is an intricate and ornate little star-shaped flower. So we're in a pond, or at the edge of a pond, and we're going to look at the flower structure of this particular plant, which is relatively uncommon, known as Bog Bean. Obviously because bog habitat has become much rarer in this day and age. So before us is a stand known as Bog Bean. So folks, let's just sum up the habitat of this simple soul. Bog Bean is a mat-forming perennial, forming wide mats with leaves held just above the water on stems. Bog Bean can be found in shallow water, fens, bogs, and in slow-flowing water such as canals. Stems will have air sacs and spaces to allow them to float upon the water. Bog bean is known by a number of common or vernacular names which principally derive from the three-structured form of the leaf, as in the case of marsh trefoil, water trefoil or marsh clover. In regards to bogwort and bog hop, the name is derived from the bitter taste of the plant, and it has been known to be used as a hop substitute in beer brewing. There are many interpretations of the Latin binomial, with the prefix given to mean the sequential opening of inflorescences on the raceme. The suffix trifoliata speaks for itself, and it reflects the three leaves on the stem. As always, before we embark on our trek into the field, we look at the features and characteristics of the plant which will enable us to identify it and find it, beginning with the flower structure. The plant is a member of the Menyanthes family, or the bog bean family, closely allied to the gentians. The inflorescence is an erect raceme of white flowers, and the buds are often evident as being rose pink in colour. The flowers, when fully open, are distinctive and sharp, star-shaped, approximately 2.5 centimetres across, and exhibit characteristic extensions of the petal in the fringe-like form. The sepals are shorter than the petals. The plant has 5 sepals and also 5 stamens, which are arrow-like in appearance. It has 2 carpels, which are fused to give 2 lobe stigmas, and a single ovary, which is one-celled. The plant itself flowers between May and June. The relative position of the anthers varies in relation to the stigma, as this is a plant which exhibits classic floral dimorphism. In the following sequence of static macro images, we are looking at a colony of pin form of the plant, and we flag by way of caption some of those features. Whilst the plant itself is the pin form, you can clearly see the arrow-shaped anthers beneath the longer style. So folks, let us take a little look at the video captures taken this spring, April 25, where it was atypical as far as being hot and dry, and have a look at the flowering structure of this plant in more detail. We will also take the opportunity towards the end of the video to recap on the principle of floral dimorphism, which we learned in the primrose video earlier this year. In the meantime, we'll allow the beauty of bog bean to speak for itself. Let us now turn our attention to the leaves and stems of bog bean, which has a horizontal rhizome filled with air pockets, enabling it to float on the surface of the water. It has distinctive alternate trifoliate leaves, and the leaves project approximately 30 centimetres above the surface of the water upon which it floats. The large distinctive trefoil leaves are broadly oval and are similar in appearance to broad bean. The leaves are also alternate, long-stalked and have entire margins. So we return to the question as to why bog bean has evolved to have fringed petal surfaces. Scientists have come up with a number of hypotheses, one such as linked in the description, relating to nectar robbery, which is a concept we looked at in the red campion. In that particular study, ants were identified as potential nectar robbers visiting the nectar flasks of bog bean. In that particular study, the success rate of foraging ants was tested by actually shaving the fringes with a hair trimmer and comparing the success rates thereafter. The answer, in my opinion, is more simple, i.e. the increased surface area offered by the fringes in catching the dehissing pollen has a role in spreading and ensuring that the pollen is maximised. The most likely probability, as borne out by observation, is that the hair-like fringe projections deter the landing of the pollinating insect such as a bee from landing on the petal platform, pushing it towards the centre of the flower where the stigma is located, thereby promoting pollinisation on a first-time landing basis. So let's just take this opportunity to recap on a principle known as floral dimorphism, which we learnt in the primrose video, link in description. In the primrose video, we looked at the co-evolutionary relationship between the long flower tube of primrose and the primary pollinator, the long-tongued bees. In dimorphic plants, we equate the position of the anthers to the relative position of the style. In the first image we show, we see the elevated style in the female or pin form of the flower. In the second image we show, we see the male form of the plant with the anthers elevated above the short style within the body of the flower. The anthers of bog bean have a distinctive arrow-like shape. As you have seen, there are two forms of flower and only one form can be present in any plant. only one form can be fertilised by the pollen of the other, thereby preserving genetic diversity through cross-fertilisation. Like in the long flower tubes of primrose, this process also occurs around the nectar flasks of bog bean. Well, that's it from me, folks. Thank you very much again for watching. If you have found this video either interesting or educational, please like, share and subscribe and help this channel become a success. Let us hope when the delicate white heads of this perennial friend raise themselves next spring, you will be equipped and endowed with the knowledge and understanding to greet them also. In the meantime, whatever the weather may be, get out there and enjoy it.